Everybody. My name is Chasney Russell. I'm the marketing coordinator here at Youth Action Project. And today we have a special day where we're just going to be able to dive deep in with one of our elders. And so I can't wait to get into it. So before I do that, though, I wanted to give you an overview of what YAP is, as well as let you know of some openings that we actually have available right now, which is so great. So, Youth Action Project has been in existence for 20 years. We're right here in San Bernardino. I've been working here for quite some time, and I'm so excited about all the great things that we do here. Our mission here is to empower youth and young adults in the development of their skills and their habits needed to experience economic and social success. How we do that is through ensuring that all opportunity youth are enrolled in YAP programs, graduate from high school, transition to post-secondary education, and enter into meaningful and gainful employment or entrepreneur ventures by age 25. We have several different programs, young leaders, young workers, and young scholars. Our young leaders program, which I'm really excited about because they just graduated their third cohort of students at Indian Springs, and that is our social enterprise that empowers youth in marketable in-demand skill sets. And in this case, it's in demand in skill sets in marketing, artificial intelligence, and entrepreneurship. We also have a program, Young Workers, which is our paid work experience. This includes students who are developing soft skills training, as well as being able to get on-site work experience. We help them with everything from their resume, give them interview attire, to gas cards, but developing their skill sets so that they're prepared in the workforce. And then we have our Young Scholars program, that is our after-school programming, where we provide mentoring and tutoring and making sure that we're ensuring that our students are prepared personally and professionally and academically to be successful. So those are a few of our programs, and if you go to our link tree in our bio at Youth Act Project, you will find all of our openings that we're currently hiring for, which is academic intervention, mentoring specialist, a youth lead, as well as a case manager position. The two are part-time, but the case manager position is full-time, and they're right here based in San Bernardino. So if you are interested, you love youth, you want to make an impact and a difference, please make sure that you click that link tree bio and apply today. All right, without further ado, today is Letter to an Elder Day, and every year on February 26th, National Letter to an Elder Day encourages putting a pen to paper and writing to an elder that you know, and the day serves to remind our loved ones our loved ones that enjoy hearing from us, that a simple letter brightens their day. And how we're celebrating that day today is a virtual letter by hosting one of our community elders, John Epps. We want to bridge the generational gap and offer sage advice to youth, as well as unveil the top 3 strategies to find the mentorship that transforms lives. So without further ado, I'm going to introduce John, and we're going to welcome him. So John Epps is a proud alumnus of Cal State San Bernardino, and he is an alumni board representative and has participated in the Teacher for a Day program, presented several professional development webinars to support recent graduates. Mr. Epps is on the Pan-African Alumni Council and is working with them to launch an annual cultural festival to raise awareness of the Black alumni community and build a scholarship endowment for African American and BIPOC scholars. He recently enrolled in the Master of Arts and Communications program at Cal State San Bernardino. Congratulations. Mr. Epps supports health equity through his participation on several committees for the Social of Medicine at the University of California, Riverside. He participates as a committee advisor board member, as a member of the Health Disparities Center Committee. John supported educational equity as a member of the Black Study Initiative at UCR. His 18 years of experience teaching in the UCR Extension has given him a strong relationship with businesses and professionals who can benefit from increased awareness of the contributions of minorities and their place in today's workplace. Wow. So now you know why we have him on, right? A wealth of knowledge. If we're not having conversations with him, we're missing out. So without further ado, I just want to welcome John. John, you still there?
I'm still here.
All right, everyone, give a virtual round of applause for Mr. Epps. Thank you so much for your your attendance here. And just so you know, I cannot see you. So if you're
That's all right.
nodding or saying anything to me,
I'm still here. Thank you very much, Chesney. I appreciate you very much. Thank you for allowing me to be here today. First and foremost, I just want to say thank you for the honor of being here today. Too often, I think we don't appreciate both what it means when people recognize what you have done, and also how much you appreciate those people. And so really this idea of, honor your elder day and send them a letter is important, more important today than ever before.
Yeah.
I think too many of our elders feel isolated from younger generations. One of the reasons I went back to Cal State was so that I could just hang around younger people again, because I think when you hang around old people, you get old. So I thought I'd better go hang around some. They say you become the 5 people you hang around the most.
Yeah,
So I really think it's critical to not have this separation of generations that we hear so much about. And so I'm just very appreciative of this opportunity. I know today, one of the things that I believe is that there is a wealth of knowledge, experience, and skills among the senior population that could really make life better for those people who are coming up behind us. And I think many of us would be happy to help if only somebody asked us. And so I think that the thing we want to talk about a little bit is, why would I want a mentor? How do I get a mentor? Because I think that's something that we all need.
yeah.
So, I think that's kind of, thank you again for this opportunity.
No problem. This is the opportunity now to discuss the best advice that you have for youth, and your experience and your life. There's been a lot of wisdom that you've gained and lessons that you've learned that I'm going to say are lessons, not L's, right?
Yeah, well, that's
if you,
correct. You either win or you learn. That's what you have to do, right? That has to be your attitude. If it's not a win, then it was a learning opportunity and you have to take it. But I'm going to say, again, I think I want to focus a little bit on mentoring today.
Definitely.
I have to say I was blessed as a young person to have both some individual mentors, people who were willing to speak into my life, who were willing to help me, especially early, because I was one of those first of the Black person in the room kind of situations in a lot of places. So it was really good to have a lot of people who would say to me, here's how you go about that. Here's what's going on. And I think mentors can be really important, not so much because they tell you what to do, but because they give you a safe environment in which to speak. I think the benefits for me as an individual was, number one, I think it really helped me to advance in my career faster, because there's like, you can do it by trial and error, or you can do it with a little bit of openings. And I think who matters. And I encourage you to start building networks now. I hope that you would recognize that people like myself are happy to open doors and
Mm.
happy to make introductions and happy to try to give some idea of how to investigate what you need to know. And then I think the second thing that it really did, I remember one great piece of advice I got early in my career said, um, your vocabulary will
Mhm.
determine your wages. And to this day, I still get the word of the day from the Merriam-Webster Library
Mm.
because I keep thinking you can never have too much money, so you keep on increasing your vocabulary. But
I do
it's
the same
little things.
thing. I
Yeah,
have a word that's sent to my email.
every day, every day.
Yeah.
And but these little things matter, and I think it doesn't just matter to you because you never know who's watching. I remember one time I had a gentleman come for a job at school. I ran a vocational training school for about 5 years,
Mm.
and he was sitting there, and I said, I'm delayed. I got to do something. And what I noticed, he immediately just took out some work that he had with him and started working. I said, I want to
Mm.
hire that guy. So
Nice.
you don't, people see everything you do. So you have to have that attitude. So I know when I go places, if people say that to me, I always have something I can just pull out and start working on because you never know who sees you. So I think that's important. And then I think maybe one of the most important things is it's not just about you, right? I always tell people one of the reasons I mentor is because so many people poured into me. And if
Mm.
people keep pouring stuff into you, but you're not pouring it out to others,
Yeah.
then you get what I like to say, you get constipated, right? And and nobody likes that feeling, right?
No.
So I really encourage you as you are looking for mentors even to start mentoring because someone will see you helping someone else and then they'll decide they want to help you. So I always say there's people who pour into me, but I'm responsible to pour it out to both peers.
Mm.
One of the great things is there's a huge peer group that we can reach out to, both internal peers, people we work with, but also people who provide us services, our suppliers, those
Mm.
people we meet when we're, at a business, in a conference, any of those things.
Right.
And so we have internal and external peers, and we need to use those networks. We need to draw in information. I call it intelligence gathering, right? It's a little bit like you
Intelligence
want
Academy?
to, like intelligence
Oh,
gathering.
God.
So it's
Okay.
just like, it's like, you know, you might hear about a job here, or you might hear about an opportunity there. And once you hear it, sometimes you say, well, that's not for me. Well, then think
Mm.
about who could I pass this on to?
Right.
Who can
Right.
I
Hmm.
share this with?
Right.
And so I think sometimes I'm invited to things like this, mostly because I'm always going to have something to share. I'm always going to be giving something away. But in order to do that, you have to put yourself in a place where you're both accessible
Mm.
and willing to hear and receive. So I think the other thing that a myth about mentoring is that this person is just it's gonna be all one way. I
Mm.
think it's really important to know that it's not. It's an exchange. It's a back and forth. I
Reciprocity. Mm. Yes.
yeah,
Mutuality. Hmm.
it is important. Last year I picked up my granddaughter 3 days a week from school, not because she needed me to, but because it gave me a chance to learn more about, well, what is high school? We hear a lot about high school, right? We hear a
Yeah.
lot about young people. But I had, for an hour in the drive, I had this kid next to me who was able to help me have a more accurate understanding of what was going on. And then when she would say certain things, I would say, well, why are you doing that? And so,
Mm.
again, I wasn't trying to tell her what to do, but I was
Yeah.
trying to let her know that she had choices. And
Mm.
and I just think that we have to stay connected. So I think the idea that she felt like she was informing me, and
Mm-hmm.
she had no trouble sharing some of her concerns and
Mm-hmm.
some of her needs. And at the same time, I was learning from her. And I think that's one of the best parts of being a mentor is if you will listen to the people who you are talking to. Somebody once told me as a teacher, the person who's talking is the one who is learning. So I started to learn it's not good for me to lecture for 60 minutes. It's
Mm-hmm.
good for me to lecture for 15 minutes and then let the students actually exhibit what they're learning. So I
What
just
I'm
think
thinking
that's a good stuff.
with 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 your grandchild, I'm thinking there's probably also some level of trust that was built for them to feel compelled or are open to even want to share their thoughts and how their day went and what their concerns are. I think that's equally important as well.
You have to be
Mm-hmm.
authentic, right? You have to be consistent. You have to be, she knows what's right and wrong. I don't have to
Mm-hmm.
tell her what's right and wrong.
Yeah.
She's a very intelligent young woman. What she needed is just, I'm trying to make some decisions and I just need a safe space to talk about it.
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
she knows there's not anything she can't talk to me
That's
about.
awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah. What helped you establish that with her to the point where she feels like you are a safe space so that other mentors can know how to create a safe space for their mentees?
Well, I think, again, I have a lot of opinions about how life ought to be, so don't get that wrong.
Okay.
But you have to keep a lot of that to yourself.
Okay.
The one thing I realize is what worked for me is not necessarily going to work for somebody
Okay.
else. So I need to keep that in mind. I
Okay.
think the second part is to be authentically who you are. So I have to
Yeah.
say, I mean, there are boundaries. They're there. They're very clear boundaries. But there's also an openness and a willingness to not judge. And I think that's where
Mm,
the safe space comes from.
mhm.
I'm not going to I may have feelings about something. I may think a certain way. I may think you're absolutely going in the wrong direction. But the other thing I know is life will straighten that out for you. What I
Right.
need to do is keep the connection between us healthy enough because it's a little bit like a bridge, right, Chesney?
Mm-hmm.
If you if you have just met somebody, that bridge is really very fragile. It's
Yeah.
it's really thin. What you have to do is you have to kind of let some shaking take place
Mm,
and grow that relationship so that the bridge becomes more solid,
mm,
so that the really heavy stuff when it comes doesn't just break that down. I
mm,
just think we tend to be not patient about it. It's like, well, you need to fix that right now. The one thing I have learned, I've been around a long time, is as much as it feels like everything has to be done like yesterday,
yeah.
the reality is tomorrow will come.
Okay.
And you have to be able to trust I'm a 76ers fan, old 76ers fan. So I used to hear Joel Embiid all the time be like, you just have to trust the process. You just have to trust the process. Be like, well, I'm not playing the way I want to play. It was like, you just have to trust the process.
Mm,
And I think for us in our communities today, there's
mm,
been so much trauma, so much
mm.
disappointment, so many, we focus so much on all of that. But
Yeah.
what I like to remind myself, and certainly I like to remind the people I talk to, we have actually never lived in better times than we live in today.
Mm,
You may think that with the high rent and the high level of this or that issue, that this,
okay.
climate, despair is, I hear terms like climate despair
Mm-hmm.
and imposter syndrome. And I think we really focus a lot on the negative because that's our natural
Mm,
survival thing.
mm,
But what I try to tell people is if you had lived 50 years ago when I was a kid, or if you had lived 500 years ago and who knows was a kid,
yeah.
you would probably be like so excited to live today.
Mm,
And
mm.
we have to appreciate that. We have to buy
Interesting.
into that. So every time people ask me, well, what do you think is so bad about that? I said, I think we live in the best times ever. I just think we have
Wow.
to recognize that I remember portals, which most people here don't even know what that term means, which preceded, Google, right? Before Google
Mm-hmm.
search came to life, you had to go to all these websites and go through to find something. Now I'm sitting here with my mind blown looking at AI, right? And
Mm-hmm.
learning how to use Chat GPT and all of these new technologies. But the coolest part is they're just, I mean, they changed the game. And so if you're in a game changing time, why
Mm-hmm.
wouldn't you take advantage of them?
So what I'm hearing
And,
is,
and
like living in the present, appreciating what you have, having
yes,
perspective.
yes.
Um,
And
okay. Yeah. Yeah.
don't give up on yourself. And just don't give
Mm-hmm.
up on your I think we spend so much time um unhappy about what didn't happen instead of taking that energy and saying, okay, so how am I gonna go make this happen? And I think
Mm,
when you have that attitude that, my energy is not going to go to the past because I can't change it anyway,
right.
then I'm going to direct my focus to the future where I can make a difference. And so
Mm,
I just don't get frustrated by, and I have great faith in young people today. I really everything I see tells me they're smarter, stronger, faster, better equipped than I was. And I think that their future is truly unlimited. I thought my future
mm,
was kind of had a good chance of being successful,
mhm.
but I truly think most young people today really have a great future in front of them.
So in this world, there's been talk that young people are fragile, that they're not as resilient as, previous generations. How do you suggest that young people adapt to change or difficulties when they come? Um, how can they grow in their resiliency?
Well, I think stop listening to the people who keep telling you stuff that benefits them and not you.
Mm,
We listen to a lot of people, influencers. We listen to pundits. We listen to all kinds of media stuff, and all of that stuff is designed to keep you in the fragile state that you're in.
mm,
So you just have to silence the noise. You have to stop listening to the nonsense. And you have to really trust, most of us actually have pretty good instincts.
okay.
Most of us, but again, it's what you focus on, right?
Mm,
It's the whole thing of which wolf you feeds is the one that wins.
mm,
So you just have to
mm,
feed the one that is going to carry you to your future that you really want. I just think we spend too much time lamenting what is already done instead of taking
wow.
what has happened and saying, okay, how do I build on that? We say we stand on the shoulders of others,
Yeah.
but we also build our own mountain, based on our willingness to engage. I hear a lot of people say, well, I don't want to engage. I don't want to just work the rest of my life. I don't feel like, I have to worry about work. I I
Mm,
enjoy what I do, so I don't consider it work. I
mm,
consider it kind of, I feel like I'm still learning, I'm still growing. I keep on kicking down doors. I don't try to follow the crowd. I try to create my own
mm.
path.
It seems like
I just
you have like a great direction and like purpose in your life. Like, what is it that like what advice would you give to young people or the younger generation that are also seeking direction and purpose?
I think be willing to just choose something and stick with it. I
Mm,
hate to say it
mm,
that way because I think like I'm a person of faith. I'm a strong person of faith. I believe in all
mhm,
of that. But what I also know is that doesn't mean that's the only path anyone could take. I
right.
think there's a lot of roads, and to get to where you want to go, you have to figure out what that path is.
Hmm.
And then you have to have the courage and strength to pick yourself up one more time
Yep.
every time you fall down.
Yep.
I got a chance to talk at Cal State the other night. And the one thing I said there is I still think is true. You have to be willing to go the extra mile, right? You have to be
Hmm.
willing. The idea of extra mile is you could be compelled to go so far as a citizen in the Roman Empire. So if you saw a soldier, he saw you, he could say, "You're going to carry my pack for 1 mile." He had the right to do that. It probably wasn't really a mile, but the idea is right. And then you could put the pack down and say, "Okay, I did my stuff," and walk away.
Mm-hmm.
The extra mile says, no, carry the extra mile for two reasons. One, it helps you to kind of maybe change that person a little bit. And sometimes we don't realize the impact we have on others.
Mm.
And then I think the second thing is when you put that bag down, somebody else has to pick it up. Well, I'm helping somebody else who that may be the thing that would have broken their day, broken their back.
Mm.
So we have to realize we're here not for ourselves, but for others. I really believe that. I
Mm.
think I get the most satisfaction. I think my purpose, I have a purpose statement I read every Saturday morning, every Saturday. And it is, I want to use my time, talent, and treasure to help
Mm.
individuals, families, communities, and organizations grow and prosper. That is
I
the
love
purpose.
that.
That is the focus. And so I
Time, talent, and
stay
treasure.
on that focus.
Mm-hmm.
And so everything else is kind of simple at that point because I just, as my friend Harold used to say, I
Mm-hmm.
take a step, I look up, I see if I'm still pointing toward my North Star. If I'm pointing toward my North
Mm-hmm.
Star, I take the next step. And then I look up
Yeah.
and I just
Yeah.
keep myself on track.
So what I'm
And
hearing,
whatever that is for you, you got to find it.
so what I'm hearing is like find out ways that you can use your time, talent, and treasures, and then choose something and stick with it, and then be a service to others and go the extra mile. Is that what I'm hearing?
100%.
Yeah, definitely. I love that. Was there like a pivotal moment in your life, John, that you feel like shaped who you are today? And like what lesson did it teach you and when it comes to overcoming challenges?
Gosh, no, I'm gonna say yes and no, and I'm
Okay.
gonna say that for two reasons. There's been a lot of those moments. There's a lot of moments. Most of us call them crises. Most of us call, I was diagnosed with prostate cancer. I was diagnosed with diabetes. I went through health
Wow.
challenges.
Wow.
I,
Hmm.
I, I lost my home. I lost my
Wow.
job. I've gone through all it. So each one of those, the question is, so what are you going to do now? Are you
Mm,
going to go
mm,
into your little pity party and enjoy yourself? Or are you going to kind of dust yourself off and keep going? So I
right.
think I've always I hate to say this, I like to say I'm really stubborn. I remember I was like 8 years old, 9 years old, summertime. I was over my friend's house, and I said I could move that fire hydrant. And so for 8 hours in the sun,
No.
in the summer, I was out there pushing the hydrant, and my friends were
What?
sitting in the house laughing themselves silly, right? And then I went back in the house, and they said, "See, you didn't move." I said, "No, no, it's not where it was." Now, you might not be able to measure it, but it's not where it was because I put a lot of time in. So you just have to have that kind of, we talk about resiliency, but
Yes.
I like the word resolve. You have to have
Mm,
the resolve to say, I'm not going to quit. I'm not going to give up no
mm.
matter what, and,
I love
and I
that.
like to believe the only reason I'm still here is because I'm trying to do things that are useful for others.
Mm,
I think that when I'm no longer willing to stay busy helping others, that probably it's time for me to go home. So
wow.
so I enjoy every morning I get up knowing I don't live in a perfect world, but that's what makes life more uh, exciting for me.
Mm,
Is so what thing today is going to be make a difference? Where do I make a difference today? And at the end of the day, I sleep well. I don't
hmm.
go to sleep feeling, I don't fret. If it didn't get done, it's not going to get done today. So why am I
Mm,
going to lay there all night and wreck my sleep
right.
worried about it? You
Yep.
know? But
Yep.
usually I get away with doing something good almost every day.
Well, you are who you are. You're incredible. So I definitely understand that. Um,
Will
so
you
my
repeat that
question
for my wife sometime?
No problem.
I'm not sure she
So,
has heard that message.
so you mentioned that you are actually going back to Cal State San Bernardino. You've lived many of lives from what I've seen. Um, how do you view the role of formal education versus lifelong learning in personal and professional development?
You need them both.
Yeah.
I think
Okay.
this is what I'm learning. I taught for 19 years. I ran a school for almost 7 years. I've had 3 or 4 good careers worth of
Wow,
work that I've done. And
that's
yet I
amazing.
realized that that doesn't mean that I know it all. That doesn't mean,
Mm,
I'm back in school and I'm learning new stuff already. And,
yeah.
first of all, there was stuff that's out there that wasn't there when I was in school. And secondly, sometimes when you're in it, doing it, you do a good job, but what you have to not forget is you could always do a better job. And
Mm,
so I think I'm a good communicator, but I really want to be a master communicator. If you want to
yeah.
master something, then you never stop growing your craft. You never stop growing your skills.
Mm,
I think formal education is one way to do that, but not the only way. I think
mm,
that formal education has a lot of benefits for a lot of people,
yes,
but
definitely.
not everyone. And I think that has to be known. I think we have to balance who we are, where we
Yeah.
are, and what we're trying to do in making that decision. But I don't think we ever stop thinking, I, I'm I'm going to be able to be better. And I think as long
Mm,
as you keep on, so there's your education. I believe your education should go to your last day. I just
mm,
really,
I agree.
I tell people I want my epitaph to say he was good to the last drop.
Oh,
That's kind of
oh,
how I
that's
feel.
so beautiful. That's so
Uh,
beautiful.
all right, so remember to say that over when I'm done. All right.
So you've done a lot of amazing things in our community. How can youth contribute to uh, sorry, brain fart right there. But in your opinion, how can youth contribute to our community in creating a positive impact?
Well, I think 2 things. I've known Yap 20 years. God, can't believe that 20 years. And nothing for me without me. I think that they have to have that attitude. You have to get in the game.
Mm,
Whether you're in high school, whether
okay.
you're in college, whether you're starting your career, I just think that bringing that energy that you have, bringing your perspective,
Mhm.
bringing new ideas, the innovation that you can bring, I feel like we scratched the surface. I don't feel like
Mm,
so I just think young people really, it's a process, right? I
yeah.
mean, and a lot of obstacles. I get all of that, but you have to kind of kick that stuff out of the way and keep going
Mhm.
because if if we don't do that, we will have a crisis
Mm,
sooner than
okay.
later because you guys are so much smarter. I mean, you have so much better tools than I ever had.
Mm,
So I just have really high expectations, but you have to really want to achieve the expect. One of the things I feel like has happened is that there's a narrative that suggests that you can only do so much,
hmm.
you can only be so much, and
Yeah.
you have to ignore that. You just
Okay.
have to find a way to not listen to the noise because as a young person, you have the energy I don't have anymore.
Mm,
And I have to say, I I I miss. I don't have any regrets
mhm.
for my life, but I miss that energy
Yeah.
because I but I probably would work myself to a heart attack. But
Oh no, we don't want that.
I just think, well, it's just, but it's because I want to see us have the best world we can have.
Mm,
And I think young
yes,
people are really an essential part of that happening,
agreed.
but they have to buy into that. They have to
Yep,
believe that. They can't just wait for somebody to knock on their door and say, "Hey, here's something." They really have to be willing to um, be adventurous. They have
I
to be
agree.
willing to take risks. They have to be
Yeah,
willing to give 100% and not just, kind of wait for their turn. Somebody says, I'm waiting. What's in it for me? I'm waiting for my
yeah.
turn. It is your turn. It is your turn.
One of the things I'm so excited about. So like I said, last Friday, we celebrated our Business and Beyond program, our students graduating from Indian Springs, and we had 8 students. And they were able to create their business plans and portfolios that serves as their website. Business logos. Did I say that already? As well as learn marketing skills, creating their sales plan, as well as learning AI along the way. And they received $100 gift card towards their business once they presented about their business, which is so amazing. But one of the cool things that I got from this last third cohort is that we had one student who I remember he was on his phone. I'm like, why is he not paying attention? And I'm just thinking, like, what's going on? And sure enough, at the end of class, he lets me know that he had just bought his first vending machine. This is a high schooler. He bought his first vending machine towards his creating his starting his business, and I was so proud of him. And I just thought, wow, like when we talked afterwards, he was like, "Yeah, I'm going to have my vending machine at this my boxing place that I work at." And I said, "Well, do you have a contract?" And he said, "No." He's like, "Oh, well, I've known the guy for long." And I said, "No." You always need to have a contract. You need to detail what the expectations are and the price and all that kind of stuff. And so I love that moment because I feel like our young people, they have the desire, they want more. They just need the guidance, and they need to have those conversations with people to be able to chime in and to give them even more insight and knowledge so that they're making decisions um, not just willy-nilly, but that they actually know from my own lesson or someone else's lesson, so that they can be successful in the decisions that they're making. But I was just really excited just to see young people having a desire to not just want to do 9 to 5, which they still can do their 9 to 5, but want to venture into entrepreneurship. So I feel like the desire is there, the fire is there. They want to create positive changes in our community. They just need the guidance and they need the support. So
Well,
I'm excited to. Mhm.
it's who you hang around, right?
Yeah.
I mean, I was blessed. My dad had his own business.
Mm.
He did home improvements. So I got to see him do the work beyond the work day, right? The
That's
stuff of
awesome.
setting up for the next day's work,
Yeah.
ordering the materials he need,
Hmm.
negotiating prices. We need to, number one, if we don't have someone around us like that, get around someone like
Yes.
that
Agreed.
so that you're getting that kind
Hmm.
of, mentoring, by just watching. And
Hmm.
then also, I think that idea of being on track, that he was working on his business was the idea. You know what I'm saying? Because that has
Yep.
to be your priority. Because we live in a culture where there's all kinds of distractions, and it's
Hmm.
so easy to, dissipate our energy because I'm over here doing this, and this. But I'm
Hmm.
gonna say one other thing though. This is if you work hard, you need to play hard.
Yeah.
My son, he works. He worked with UPS since he was in college. He is now district manager. Has been district manager for the whole
Come
West
on.
Coast. And
Yes.
one of the things though that you also know, he has been to almost every country in this world.
That's
He has traveled.
amazing.
He'll take 2 weeks and go here and go through the jungle, or he was in Japan a couple months ago. So I think sometimes there's this fear that if I work so hard, I won't be able to enjoy it. But the
Mm,
reality is there's plenty of room for both.
yeah,
You just have to first do the work first, get the work done,
yeah,
and then go enjoy yourself. It's
yeah.
not like,
Y'all hear that? Do your homework.
yeah, do the work, get it done, then go have your fun. But go have your
Mhm,
fun. Don't not have. I think one of the critiques of my generation is it looks like we just work till we die, and
mhm,
then we're too old to enjoy the work.
yeah,
I kind of agree. I think that
I've seen that.
sometimes there are a lot of us who did that. But I do think though young people need to know you don't play first and then go to work. You go to work first and then you go to play. But
Yeah.
I think if
Hmm.
you just stay focused, you get it done.
Agreed. I totally agree with that. Y'all heard that, right? Do your homework. Put in the sweat equity
Get
now
the work
so
done.
that you can
Look,
play hard
I was
afterwards.
in here I was in here yesterday from 8 p.m., 6 p.m. until 11:58. Some of you know what that 11:58 represents, right?
No.
The deadline for turning in the quiz is at 11:59. So I was in here in the books for almost 6 hours,
Wow.
getting the reading caught up and doing the work. But you do the work
Hmm.
because one, it benefits me. I learned, I enjoy doing the work. I did it. I don't like the fact that I finished at 11:58, but guess what? I finished at 11:58,
You
not
finished it. That's
11:59.
right.
And
Celebrate your wins,
sometimes
no matter how
do the
small.
work. You
Hmm.
got to do the work. Just have fun.
Wow. So we've covered so many things. I love the time, talent, and treasure. I love just being authentically who you are. There's so many gems here. The resolve versus resiliency, that was powerful. Um, I did want to kind of recap because I am not quite sure. I missed number one. So, with the 3 ways to seek out and choose a mentor, I have use it's about your vocabulary. Your vocabulary will determine your wages.
Yeah.
Um, pour into others. And was it to be authentically who you are? Were those the 3, or did I miss? Was number one is something different?
Yeah, I think it was the idea of networking.
Networking.
I think the number one was
Oh
the
yeah,
networking. It
build your
was the
social
idea
capital.
of being out there and building up that network at all times.
That's what it
Don't be
was.
afraid to ask questions. Don't be
Yeah.
afraid to share with others. You may have something that I need to know that I would have missed if you hadn't shared it with me. I went to a symposium last week and I spoke, and then I was getting ready to leave, and the lady ran out. And she says, "I was in a meeting last night, and somebody mentioned your name, and now I see you today. So now I want to get together." So that's
That's
opportunity now,
awesome.
and
Yes.
and so you never know who will see what you do, say something to somebody else about it, and now that
Mm,
opens a door for you that that you actually, and the interesting thing is that you actually might have been looking to find a way to open, and
mm,
so that whole thing of you know not just having everybody feed into you,
mhm,
but being your own conduit for information for others is really critical.
mm.
you know
I agree. My last question for you, Mr. Epps, is what do you envision the legacy of today's elder generation influencing future leaders and change makers? What do you envision?
I really see a generation. I really believe there will be a generation that kind of gets through all of the divisiveness that
Mm,
is currently there so that people like me can look can move without fear, without the regrets of, the impact of things like racism and ageism and sexism and all of those things. I really think this generation has the chops to make the changes. I think there, sometimes I like to say we don't change when we want to, we change when we have to. I just think that this generation has to change it, because if we don't, I don't think, my generation is going, I understand in 10 to 15 years, there will be more people my age than people your age. And one of the consequences of that is, as we get older, we need more help. We need more. And we need to have a culture that respects and values elders,
Yes.
but also one where young people feel enriched because of that legacy. So I really want to be part of building a legacy of excellence, of value, of generosity, but at the same time, so that this generation, this next generation, can really show out who they are and be. I want to see us go to the stars. I want to see us, live in a place where there's no suffering. So I just really believe we're in a time where this generation can make that happen.
That's a great vision. And you're leaving a legacy, an incredible legacy. So I feel optimistic that this can actually happen. Well, the ball is in y'all court, youth of today. You've heard it from John Epps. He was dropping so many different gems. I hope that you can rewatch this. If you have tuned in, if you can share it with the young people that you feel like need some encouragement and some wisdom, because it's needed. We need to bridge the gap with the generations. We have such wealth of knowledge. If you are older, you are valuable. You have lived a life, and you have so much to offer these young people, and sharing and mentoring them. So we're hoping that this bridges the gap for a lot of people. I'm hoping young people that you understand just how valuable older people are. Our elders not only need to be respected, but listened to, but we need to ask them the right questions. This is part of building our social capital, asking the people who have lived the life so that we can learn the lessons ourselves, right? So ask great questions. Mr. Epps said, build your social capital, be of service to people, make sure that you are putting yourself out there, that people even know what your needs are. And there's so many other gems. Go ahead and rewatch it. But I just wanted to close out today just by first letting you guys know, if you guys want to know more about GAP and what we do, please click the link in our bio. Tune into our page and see all the great things that have been happening. We are here to support your young people. We're here to support your young adults, to make sure that they have all the resources, the information, the training, and the skill set that they need to be successful. And this is just a part of it, making sure that we're bridging the gap when it comes to our elders and our youth. But again, Mr. Epps, thank you so much for the privilege of just being able to be in your presence and to pick your brain and just to hear these gems that I know that are going to change lives and make an impact to more people in our community.
Thank you. Thank you for the opportunity. And thanks everybody for coming out. I see some of my friends on here. I'm excited. Hopefully I'll hear from you all. And always know that I'll be praying and thinking about each and every one of you. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Everyone have a great, fantastic day. Bye.
Bye-bye.